Welcome to the Low Carb MD podcast. No one is beyond help. No one is beyond hope. Nothing said on the Low Carb MD podcast is medical advice. Please consult your own doctor before making any lifestyle changes.
Hello and welcome back to the Low Carb MD podcast. Tro, gosh, man, we've been so busy. It's so great. We have a fun guest today, and you've been traveling the world. I've been traveling the West Coast in a little circle doing nothing. So tell people what have you been your adventures? You've been with the Unwins and doing like big talks and stuff.
Yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on. Super excited. Had a great time in the UK with the Food Addiction Conference,
You had a
and
food addiction. You had a whole conference on something that doesn't exist. That's amazing.
you're being cheeky.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
am, of
it
course.
was great. It was a great
Remember back in the day
conference.
when we talked about that, Tro, people said these guys are nuts. And now we have whole conferences on it.
Yeah. I think Brian, you've been ahead of your time. A lot of things. The microbiome. I don't know. Seeing more and more about it. Every time I see that, I'm like,
See, Tro,
tip of the hat
like,
to Brian. Tip of the
I'll
hat
be
to Brian.
crazy for a while and go, okay, let's see what the data shows. And then we know
Yeah.
what we're seeing. So it's fun for me. It's exciting to say, hey, and that's what I love about our community is that we can be open-minded, go, let me look in it. Because when we see something that violates what we believe, we have to say, why is this happening? Because it doesn't make sense. And if you go, you're doing everything right, either you're lying, like we used to think everyone who did the ADA's diet, they weren't lying, they were following the commands and they were getting worse diabetes. But now we're saying, well, if you're really doing a carnivore diet, there's no way you can have insulin resistance. There's no way you can have high sugars, high triglycerides. It doesn't meet any of our expectations. And when we see it, we have to say, why is this happening? And you look at the gut, and 100% of the time, I'll say right now, in my patients, that's the issue that we have to look at. So you go, okay, how do we fix that problem and see if it makes you better? If you get better, then I'm right. If you don't, then I'm wrong. And guess what? My patients are getting better, so I enjoy my job and I smile more.
All about outcomes. It's all about outcomes. Um, yeah, it's been great, man. It's been great. Tomorrow, well, this will be out by then. We have a big grand opening and a meetup here in New York, so that's going to be exciting. I'm coming out to California. Not too far in October. Flying back and forth to DC, Brian, so a lot going on. I'm just humbled and I'm happy to be here. And our guest today, is super exciting. Actually, I know the family, believe it or not, but she may be the best part of the family I've met so far. So,
She's cool and she's doing good work and she has a podcast. Let's talk about all this stuff. Why don't
yeah,
we
so
shut up
yeah,
for a while, Tro,
yeah, well, let me introduce
and
her
make people
properly. We
happy?
have Amelia Wood. She is a certified nutrition advisor, a certified personal trainer. She is an absolute badass. So, am I allowed to say that, Jack? If I'm not, just
Yeah,
bleep it
you can
out.
say it, Tro.
She has a great podcast. She also is a dynamic duo on their podcast. Sometimes there's a doctor who comes in. The Magic of Metabolic Health podcast. Check it out. And she's a health coach at primitivepulsefitness.com. So happy to have Amelia, and it's exciting. I want to hear this. I'm excited to hear your journey.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, Brian. Hey, guys. So, yeah, I never thought I would be into the podcast world, but it's actually really helped me personally and professionally. So, we were talking earlier about Joan Iflin, who I always name drop because she's a badass. She is so amazing, and she changed my world back in 2019. Before that, I had explored health in lots of different ways. I was vegan for 7 years. I was vegetarian for almost 5 years. I was into all this stuff. But when I met Joan, I had already transitioned to kind of being relatively low carb, but didn't have a lot of information about it. But thanks to my dad, he brought me to the conference in Bellevue, Washington in 2019. And I saw all the speakers, and Joan Iflin was my favorite. She absolutely, I mean, she kind of stunned me the way she presented about her own story and her own transformation, and now what she does with Food Addiction Reset program, and it continues to evolve. And so one of the things that I learned from her after we became friends and we started going out to lunch, because we're both in the Seattle area, is I said, look, I want to do something. I want to help people. I want health to be more accessible to anyone. And I am really hesitant to go back to school, and I don't really trust the system. Like, what should I do? Should I be a nutritionist? Should I be a dietitian? And she goes, no, don't waste your time, because you will yell, scream, argue till you're blue in the face, and your professors will not listen. They'll tell you you're wrong and there's no evidence, and it'll be a waste of time and money and energy. So find something that you're really passionate about and just take a certificate program. Find, accredited, valuable, respected programs that, are short term, that teach the things that you want to learn about, and go that way. And I was like, okay. So I put that kind of on the back burner, like, I'll figure it out someday. And then pandemic. And I was home because I have a whole nother business that, basically was destroyed during the pandemic. And so I had this random idea on Memorial Day weekend. I don't know why it came to me, but suddenly I was like, hey, I kind of want to become a personal trainer. I haven't done anything about it. I'll look it up real quick. Like, maybe there's a program or something. And funny story, Tro, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but that kind of got reignited because of the pandemic. I was doing at-home workout videos just as a joke because everyone else was taking themselves really seriously. And so I started making these parody videos, and I'm an actor. So I was doing impersonations of like Freddie Mercury and Prince and doing ridiculous, not real workouts. And I was like, wait, what if people could hire Freddie Mercury to come to their house and train them and get into shape? Like, that would be so much more fun than some, like coach in a gym, stinky gym, and, telling them to do one more rep. Like, that's boring. Nobody wants to do that, really. At least I don't want to do that. So anyway, I'm like, I could get really certified and I could combine forces and I could be the actor impersonator and a real legit personal trainer. So I did it. I got certified by ACE, American Council on Exercise, in about 7 months. Did it all at home, online, did the exam online. And since then, I've just been adding to my repertoire. I built my website, my business, Primitive Pulse Fitness. I started the podcast thanks to, well, honestly, I was inspired by Low Carb San Diego 2 years ago. And Fumi Awayami, my ride or die bestie, who's a hospitalist and just recently finished all her training. So she's just wrapping up her first year of real career as a doctor. And we occasionally co-host the Magic of Metabolic Health podcast. So I've been doing that, and I've gotten other certifications, like from the Nutrition Network, one of my favorite groups. So I'm a certified nutrition advisor through them. And then I also just got certified through ACE as a behavior change specialist, which is my passion, is, talking about behavior, feelings, thoughts, because if we ignore all that, we're not going to succeed in the long term with our health, with our metabolic health. So that's a little intro.
Before we do anything else, before we go anywhere else, I'd like to see the impersonation.
Like, you want me to open a video and share my screen?
You said you had a Prince impersonation, right?
Oh yeah, so I have videos on YouTube on my other channel that
Oh, okay.
that has,
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
I mean,
let's see it,
there's something to be said about really good makeup. You wouldn't think that I would transform into Freddie or Prince or Marilyn Monroe or Pat Benatar, but man, when I got those eyebrows down and the attitude, it works. So I don't know if we can share a link later, but my favorite workout video is the Freddie Mercury because it's a rock star workout and it's just him warming up his eyebrows and his mustache and his teeth. You know his teeth? He was pretty famous for his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have prosthetics that are actually like Freddie Mercury prosthetic teeth. So,
So you're making it fun for people, like they can enjoy and you can work out and have fun and not be like, okay, I got to do this to lose 5 pounds.
exactly. And
Yeah.
let me tell you how I didn't do what I really wanted to do. I was scared, right? I was nervous that people wouldn't take me seriously if I started a website with Freddie Mercury as a personal trainer. I had my other entertainment business and that was solid like once pandemic kind of settled. But I didn't know how to fuse the two. And so I've put in some gems, some little short videos of other characters in the Magic of Metabolic Health podcast on YouTube. The video shorts I've done just a little bit of silly character work around metabolic health. But Freddie Mercury is definitely one of them, my favorite people to be, because he just calls everyone beauty. Everyone's a beauty. And he has these teeth, and no one that has teeth like him or a voice like him. And I love to sing as well. So I have written lots of parodies, including a Justin Timberlake parody, which is the intro to our podcast. So you know that song, Sexy Back? We're bringing sexy back.
Brian's favorite song.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's his like theme
My theme
song.
song. Yeah, when I
Yeah.
speak, I play that.
Well, I challenge you to just change the lyrics and listen to my podcast because I changed the words to "We're bringing healthy back." Down, down. Them other bros don't know where it's at. Down, down. And I rewrote the whole first verse, but I don't play it because it's too long for the intro of a podcast. But there is a bathtub video of me as Justin Timberlake in my bathtub doing the whole song, the new song version. And I talk about A1C and fatty acids and
Man, we're so boring, Tro. We got to start doing some of this
fun
stuff,
like
man.
this,
Dang.
Brian. This is what they did. They beat the fun out of us in residency. I think when you and I were chief residents,
Creativity and fun and like enjoy it. Like have fun while you're doing. Like enjoy the journey, people. Trust me. Enjoy the journey. Don't count all of the things you can't do. Just enjoy what you can. Like find
exactly.
pleasure in what you're doing because when you're hiking, it's not fun really till you get to where you want to be. So just make it fun.
Yep. And I was actually looking at a person, I don't know what, I just met them through the Nutrition Network, like community platform where we can go on there and ask questions and help each other out as coaches and doctors. But this person posted something yesterday about this need or this, we've been kind of programmed to want instant reward in our culture. And that's one part of the piece, or I guess a piece of the puzzle of how, to really help people navigate more efficiently their health, their metabolic health. Because, when you go to the store and you buy blank, I'm not going to mention any particular products, but you get it, you walk out the store, you eat it, you're satisfied, you have that reward, right? And this coach was saying, I want to build resilience in my clients toward delayed reward. And I thought about that and I was like, that's very eloquent, number one. And number two, it makes sense in the process of behavior change because as a metabolic health coach, personal trainer, whatever you want to call me, I'm not the type that's going to take you to the gym, get ripped, and look hot in your wedding dress in 6 months and then never talk to you again. There are people who do that. They're really good at it. But that's not my MO. My MO is sustainable behavior change, sustainable lifestyle, and optimal metabolic health. And there's a lot of emotions and mental health stuff that go with that. And so when I saw that, it made me think, how can I talk more about that? This resilience toward delayed reward, because working out or, even going for a walk, some people don't like to walk. That's legit real world stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't go to a client and be like, oh, it's easy, just walk 20 minutes a day. But if they hate walking, I'm not serving them, I'm not helping them. And if they are reward driven, then we have to talk about what rewards work for them. What's a sustainable reward that's not gonna, crush their process, because we've also been conditioned to think of sweets as a reward. We do that with our kids. We do that with ourselves. We worked hard. Let's go get something sweet. And so just, anyway, I could go on and on about all that stuff, but what else? What else do we want to talk about?
No, this is huge. I want to talk about this more because it's so huge, because we see so many people fall off the bandwagon or fall off the wagon because life stress, or they're like right now they want their comfort right now. The chocolate or the cake or whatever is a comfort right now. And so I think I want to say it was Scott Adams. I heard him talking about that recently. He said, look, that the difference really between bad habits and good habits is this: the reward is delayed. We're looking at all the stuff you have to do to get there, rather than saying, I'm looking at the end result and all this stuff is worth it to get that result I want. If that makes sense. He said, so many like bad habits, we get the reward right now. Good habits, we don't see the reward right away. Like, studying to be a doctor. If you want to be a doctor, you have to go through all this garbage to get there. And so when you go, I'm looking at all this garbage you got to do, forget it. I'm not doing it. It's too much. And so people go, look, I gotta I always very much respect people like Tro. When you're 350 pounds, like, how do you even start? Like, because it's going to take so long. You're not going to be thin in a week. And like, how do you stay on that path? And I have some patients who've just done so great, just going for a walk every day, or being consistent in what they're doing, and not being overwhelmed by the journey's too far, the mountain's too high to start climbing it, so I don't even start. So I'd love to hear your take on that.
Me or Tro?
You. Tro too, right?
You, everybody knows me.
Okay.
Let's hear about you.
Well, first of all, you were talking about joy, right? And that's where my whole career in health and wellness came from, a career of joy making. I've been an actor since I came out of my mom, basically. Like, I was in theater at 5 years old, and I still love it. I'm a gifted performer. I'm talented. It's definitely one of those things I was just born to do, born to be. And because joy is so important to me and making sure people enjoy life, I'm carrying that into my work as a personal trainer and coach. And so if we're talking about goal setting, and that's another word, the G word, there are two words that I have found that a lot of people cannot stand, which is a huge barrier, excuse me, to to improving their metabolic health: goal and exercise. So I'm going to shout out to my mom, who may or may not listen to this, but when I was learning my personal training program and stuff, and doing all the practice stuff with my parents and friends and neighbors, I learned something about my mom, and she hates the word exercise. it doesn't motivate her. It actually demotivates her, because all this pressure then comes on her of like, oh, what is exercise? How much do I have to do? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it enough? Well, I'm not doing it like them, and look at them. And, it's just this downward spiral for her and a lot of people. And so if you go to my website, primitivepulsefitness.com, you will not see the E word anywhere on my entire website. I use movement, I use lifestyle, I use being outside, routine, I use real life, like action words like gardening, because I believe that everything counts, right? So for example, this week I had a busy week-ish, have a friend in town, whatever. I didn't get to what I call my workout until today, right before we met up. But I walked like 6-7 times all this whole week. And I track it on my watch, because for me, every step counts. And I want my clients to understand, and anybody to understand, that you do you, boo. Like, bruh, please stop feeling like this pressure that health is defined in this box. And if you don't fit it, you're doing it wrong or you're failing. And so if I have a client who wants to lose a lot of weight or they want to change their diet, I say, pick one thing that you're really excited about. Okay. And that might get kind of detoured, like, it's not necessarily about eating different every day, but I also use this approach where we find something that you really love to do or experience, and we focus on that instead of taking away stuff, right? So instead of restriction, instead of I can't have this, I get to have that. And that thing, that experience, that food, that activity, whatever, is something I know will motivate me intrinsically, internally, because I enjoy it when I do it, when I experience it. So that's where I start. I don't ever start with, well, okay, so what do you want to take out? You gonna stop drinking? You gonna stop eating sugar? Okay, no more TV. Okay, all right. Like, that's terrible advice. And I try just to be open-minded. I try to, as an actor, improv, go with the flow, really listen to what my clients and the people I'm working with want, even if it's something I wouldn't do, right? Because my job as a coach and a trainer is to never judge them and to be their not number one advocate, because they have to learn how to advocate for themselves, and also build self-efficacy, which is a big thing that I'm about as well. Is if they don't believe they can do it, then they're not going to do it, or they won't do it long term. So part of the building rapport with my clients, and like the first session where we do kind of a consultation, even the second session, it's really about getting to know them and understanding, okay, mental note, they're really good at spreadsheets because they're accountants. This person's an accountant. And then I track that. I'm like, okay, remember that. They might think being an accountant and being good at spreadsheets has nothing to do with their health. But if you, as doctors, a spreadsheet skill set would actually be really helpful in that kind of situation with that type of personality, right? So it's really about just building strengths, recognizing strengths, and helping people know that they've done hard shit before. They can do it again, even if they're an accountant and they love spreadsheets, and that's like their biggest strength. You can work with anything.
It's interesting, even with the spreadsheets, like I found like we a lot of times we think of like macro accounting, right? But what about spreadsheets that like what are the things that bring you joy? Can you list them? What are the things that bring really you don't look forward to that give you anxiety, stress, take your sleep away? What are the foods that you constantly struggle with? Like these simple things, like you can make spreadsheets on things that may matter more than counting every morsel of food you put in your mouth, because what you put in your mouth doesn't exactly describe why you put it in your mouth. And the why, it certainly comes down to the what and how much to some degree, right? But oftentimes I think it's more important to focus on the why, right? And these spreadsheets, like, people think of it like, oh, they'll like track and weigh your food or something like that. But these spreadsheets can be insightful. They can be introspective. They can be, and I know you think this way because, so I just wanted to clarify for the listener, like, how do you feel about, I mean, sometimes it's good to just be plain and simple and track. Like I've done all the headspace work and, now I'm going to just see what I'm putting in my mouth. I'm going to record everything I do. But a lot of times I think it's the former that I just discussed that's often missed.
Or even journaling, like journaling, writing down how you feel, what would you like to do, what's important, what would you like to, and you could go back and look at that because we always forget while we're here. We forget while we're on this journey, and then you realize, like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. Like a lot of times we don't like, why are you doing this? Why'd you come to me? What are you hoping to get out of this? And a lot of people are like, I don't really know. I didn't think about that. Someone told me I should come.
Yeah, I actually have a workshop. So I do corporate workshops for like wellness things, and community classes as well, like at libraries and senior centers. And one of the workshops I do is I keep playing around with the name, but it's basically how to find your ride or die. But the millennial speak is referring to a friend, right? A best friend. But I'm referring to your ride or die why. What are you doing and why are you doing it? Because I do believe that every human on this planet wants to enjoy life. And if we're not enjoying the process, of course, it's not perfect and stuff is hard sometimes. But if our through line doesn't include joy and it doesn't have a solid why that is overarching everything we do, then we're lost. And you can see the state of the world. A lot of us are lost. We don't have a purpose. We don't feel like we belong. And
Not seen
we're not
or
seen,
heard.
we're not
Yeah.
heard. We're told you're doing it wrong. You have to do it this way, especially in the health industry. Oh my God. It I have seen some wiggity whack stuff on the internet about trainers and what they tell their clients to do. And I saw this one guy once who was talking about how getting healthy is a lonely road. And, sometimes you just got to do it all by yourself and it's painful and it's stressful. And, that's just what it is. And I'm like, bro, no. Why would you say, like, do you really think you're going to get clients by telling them getting healthy sucks? Like, it's lonely and like no one wants to do it with you except me and pay me. Like, it was really funny, but it also drove me to add some other words on my website because I was like, I'm not like that. I do not want to encourage people to believe this false narrative that getting healthy is boring, lonely, painful, tasteless, depressing, right? I bring up celery and salad a lot. Like people think that that's what they have to eat to lose the weight that they want. And then the whole dynamics of weight. Do we want to lose weight? Do we want to lose fat? Do we want to gain muscle? So there's all these pieces and parts that get overlooked because the health industry has become obsessed with very just base, overly simplistic things like just lose weight. That's my goal. Well, do you want to be happy? Do you want to sleep well? Do you want to have good digestion? Do you want your skin to glow naturally? Do you want your joints to stop hurting? It goes on and on and on.
Play with your
So
grandkids, get up and down the stairs, those things, these functional things. Yeah.
exactly. And that goes into the why. And I work with a lot of folks who have grandkids. And let me tell you how many times I can't even count. Their why, their ride or die why, has something to do with their grandkids, whether it's playing with them on the floor or going outside with them or seeing them graduate high school. That is a ride or die why. And that's where I start too. If someone comes to me, I don't assume that they're ready. We talk about stages of change, stages of behavior change, the trans theoretical model of behavior change. And well, I don't really talk about
You
that
should
with my
actually talk
clients.
about that a little bit for the listener, because us three may know it, but the listener may not.
Yeah. There's this model that helps anybody. I mean, counselors, doctors, personal trainers, coaches. And there's basically, what is it, 5 stages. So we have pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. And each stage kind of represents where someone is at mentally. And I make sure that I determine in the first consultation we have, which is always free, we spend sometimes an hour, hour and a half just talking. And I can tell where someone's at around a certain behavior, right? Because there's different behaviors. We don't come at health just with this one bullet, like it's all right here. They might be in, pre-contemplation with no intention to change their diet, but they are like prepared and ready and have a plan to go to the gym 5 days a week. So being aware of where they're at for different, you can say goals, the G word, or intentions or changes that they want to make. And one of the things that is challenging is, again, I kind of already said this, is people are conditioned to think that it's all or nothing. And when I say ride or die, that is kind of an all or nothing phrase. But I also say never expect perfection, expect adjustments. So the journey is a process. Your intention or your goal or what you want to change might change, and that's okay. You don't have to say in the beginning, my goal is 150 pounds, and then 2 years later, it stays the same. Well, what if you start lifting weights or doing, strength training? That's going to impact your weight. So if we're just talking about losing weight and we're not considering muscle mass and fat mass, then things got to change, because I am 180 pounds now. And I used to want to go back to 150 when I was like 25 years old. And then once I got certified as a trainer, I'm like, oh, I guess the way I'm living my life and how I'm, building muscle and stuff, I guess I have to kind of rethink my goal, because I'm not 180 pounds of fat. I did a dex scan. What's it called?
Like a DEXA.
DEXA.
Yeah.
DEXA, not Dexcom. I did the DEXA scan at Low Carb San Diego a couple years ago, and it was interesting. But I'm not super concerned. I'm more about, like, how do I feel? How are my joints? Can I feel some muscle? Yes, I like that. right? Other people, they don't really care how they look as much as others. They just want to get their A1C down. They want to get their triglycerides down. They want to lower inflammation. And so that's why I was saying earlier, I'm not really the coach or the trainer to bring me into the gym and make you pump iron 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I tried that and it was fun for a while. But the culture there wasn't my vibe. It didn't last very long. And and that's something I wanted to bring up if I can segue a little bit into culture. Is that cool?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, our culture, so on my website and what I talk about a lot with people is mind, body, and culture, and how they're all linked to our metabolic health. And Tro, earlier you said something about simplicity and your why, right? And I already touched on the why, but the simplicity, not being oversimplistic, but taking steps in a simple way, simplifying your life, simplifying health, and knowing, with that attitude of abundance, like a mindset of abundance versus scarcity, knowing that you have everything you need to optimize your metabolic health. And that means you don't have to buy fancy gym equipment. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to have some strict, boring ass meal plan for the rest of your life. You don't have to stay home. You can still go out and go to parties and have a social life and be successful in optimizing your metabolic health. And so culture is something I talk a lot about with my clients because I work with very diverse people too. So I work with folks who live in multi-generational homes, and you have to address culture there, right? Like, what does grandma say? Or what does grandma cook? And do you want to hurt grandma's feelings? Well, no, you don't. But you can also explain to grandma, like, hey, grandma, I'm really working on improving my blank, my mental health or my sleep. And when I eat blank, I feel better. So I'm not really going to eat this today. I really appreciate you cooking, but it's hard conversations because that when you have that generation gap, there's sometimes not a lot of patience or understanding. It's like, I cooked you food, eat it. And helping my clients navigate those conversations with their family members. And then the next level is work. Places that offer free food all the time, snacks, and even alcoholic drinks at work, and latte machines and things like that. How do you manage to live in an environment like that? You can't change your work environment unless you quit your job. So we have to find tools and resources inside our why, right? And other alternatives. Tro and I had talked about moderation when I interviewed him, and how it's bullshit for most people because it's subjective. You can't measure it. So how is that giving anyone good advice by saying, oh, just moderately eat stuff at work or moderately eat grandma's sweet stuff? It's terrible advice. And so I use the term modify. Modify what you do, modify your plan, prepare. I don't know if you've heard of the 7 Ps. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. I learned that in theater school and I apply it everywhere I go. And it's really helpful because culture is a beast, right? I mean, that's why I'm not a doctor. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to handle the culture of medical school. And I mean, I respect you guys. I respect Fumi. I like there's no way I can do a lot of things. There's no way I would have been able to make it through medical school because the culture is just so intense and so hard. And excuse me, and you guys are proof that you even had a wealth of knowledge, and a lot of it was great, but then you had your own aha moment after the fact of like, oh wait, everything I learned wasn't right. What? I mean, I can't imagine what that would feel like. I mean, I just as a human living in the United States of America, I've been fooled and continue to be fooled. And so I question a lot of things, but I didn't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and 10 to 15 years of my life trying to get a degree that I now sit with. And I'm like, I don't know, you can talk about that, what you guys, your transformations. Because Tro, you talked about it on the interview, which had several layers to it. But Brian, it'd be interesting to hear from you about like, how do you respond, and how do you move forward, and how do you still work within the system with the culture that you know
Yeah,
experienced?
well, I'm out of the system, right? So Tro, thank God for Tro that said, Brian, you're killing yourself, man. You're working 18-hour days. You have no time for your family. I know what you value, and you can't do those things. And I knew he was right. And it's a scary thing when you know, have $500,000 in med school loans. And, you know, luckily over the years, I paid most of those down. And then you jump out from security, you're making money, to saying, look, why'd I go into medicine? To help people. And so when you see you're treating the diabetics the same way as everyone else, and they're all talking about amputations, dialysis, blindness, all this disaster, is like, I don't want to be part of this journey anymore. I want to prevent this. This is crazy. And then you see how the system works, and it's so disheartening because we have our pressed white coats and we're ready to go with our stethoscope and we're going to save the world. And you realize this is not this is not what we signed up for. You know, we see the craziness and you have to step back and go, am I crazy too? Am I the only one who's seeing it this way? And so when you start seeing people actually getting better and healthier, you go, I can't be part of them not doing this anymore. So they, you know, they say you can't unsee what you've seen. So I have residents who float through with me. I go, look, everything I'm doing is the wrong answer on the test, but look at these patients. It's the wrong answer, but they're all doing great. So what Tro's doing is changing the world, like saying, okay, let's question what we've always thought was true. Why do we call it a wet read on a X-ray? You know, they call it a wet read. It's like, is it a wet read? No, it's not. So these kind of things, the more you're around, the more you start saying, wow, if my patient benefits, you know, I think we start realizing the perversion of medicine. That's what happened to me. I started looking, going, wait a minute. These guys just care about how well I code and how fast I can see a patient. That's what matters. So that's what they value, not saying, hey, look, we had 12 people we prevented from getting diabetes. Well, you're costing us money because if they get the diagnosis, you could code more. You're costing the system money. It's like by making people healthier, and you go, there's something wrong. I'm not the crazy one here. Everyone around me is. Right, Turo?
Well, let me tell you, people don't want to hear this. Well, some people do, our listeners do, but I think most people don't want to hear how perverse the system is and what it then and really the courage it takes to leave it. You know, what you just said is like absolutely, absolutely true. Um, and you know, you mentioned you're being grateful for me. I gotta give gratitude back. I'm grateful for you. You know, I'm grateful for all the guidance you've given me, you know, Brian, over the past, you know, it's going to be 7 years. Brian, can you believe that?
Crazy. Yeah, it's
Seven
crazy.
years, you know, we've been doing this together. And I'm just so glad that we've been able to do this and we get to meet amazing people like Amelia, you know, us stepping out a little bit and creating that space and going focusing on what we came into medicine for has opened so many doors. Like I'm excited to meet Amelia, learn about her podcast, you
Mhm.
know, learn about her experience as a coach, how she helps you know, those you know, diverse populations, the intergenerational homes. You know, I mean, like what a ride it's been and what a blessing, you know, we've had just by sort of focusing on the insane things we've seen in medicine, and it just seems to get worse and worse. That's the worst part, Brian. You go further down the rabbit hole. Have you stopped going down the rabbit hole? Because I haven't, you know.
No, you look and you go, is there fruit in this rabbit hole? Is there something that is value to people? We start looking, and that's why having people like you on, Amelia, I learned something, and I go, oh yeah, I didn't think about it from that perspective. I mean, so much of the stuff I do now, it's not my own thinking. It's like something I hear from you and go, I like that. Like, let's make it fun. Let's do something different. And so in medicine, if you do something different, you're dangerous because you're not in the flock. You have to be right in the middle of the pack. And if you step on the outside, go, wait a minute, we're going the wrong way, guys. Can we think about this? No, you're an idiot. You're crazy. So like stuff Tro and I are talking about, like gut microbiome. If you talked to me about gut microbiome 5 years ago, you're insane. It has nut leaky gut. Are you kidding me? Like there's no such thing. And if you talk to 100 gastroenterologists right now, they're gonna, like 95 of them out of 100 are gonna say there's no science to that at all. It's like just because you haven't looked at it and it's not a colonoscopy that you can specify, irritable bowel syndrome. Like, I just saw a huge review. It's leaky gut. That's what it is. That's what irritable bowel. It's irritating the nerves 100% of the time. That's what we're talking about. Instead of saying, well, we have no idea. It just happens to some people. Well, it gets worse in times of stress, gets worse when you're eating terrible foods and, all these things. So I think as we all like listen to each other and go, how are you doing it? Like these people that for me and Tro, I know it's the people we can't reach that make us nuts. Like, why can I not convince this person? Right? Why? What's the, because for me, the frustrating patient I have is I'll say, hey, let's talk about activity or exercise, not the E word maybe, but how do we get you moving a little bit more? How do we? And they're like, I just can't. I can't do it. And how about if we not have cookies every night? Can we do it 3 nights a week? Can we start there? And some people just can't deviate. And in medicine, the doctors that we see, they just cannot deviate either. They go, no, this is what I learned and this is what it is. Instead of saying, does the evidence support what you're saying? Right? Yeah, so it's a hard thing, and I think once you realize the effect on us as human beings, like it's killing people. Medicine is killing the doctors, I'm telling you. Like to be a cog in the wheel, you're the brightest, you're the head of your whatever in school, you're a type A personality already, and then you get in there and you're just a like you don't like it, go, we'll take all your patients away if you don't do this and this and this. You don't code high enough. And you go, wow, what the heck am I? That's what I looked at. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? I'm a cog in the wheel. Like I leave and they just plug someone else in there. It doesn't matter if you're not providing good medicine. So
Right.
hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, you said it. I didn't.
And I want to ask you something because it's, I have friends. My wife's an actress. So does it stress you out to just be yourself?
No.
It doesn't.
Oh,
So see, my
actually,
wife, if I asked her to do this right now with the podcast, she'd go, oh no, no, no. But if you asked her to memorize this thing and be a character, she could do it forever. So you have that temperament where you're not stressed to be yourself and just go and talk about stuff and go into a new audience and talk to people.
no, actually, as I'm trying to bring those two worlds together, right, health and wellness and entertainment, I'm creating these workshops and classes where I am all me. I am just Amelia. I look like
Hmm.
this, and I'm figuring out a way to have the silly fun stuff as well. But the more I have developed my career as an entertainer and a producer, honestly, the less I've wanted to act and the more I've wanted to just be me. Because people, as an actor, people expect you over the years and years to be a certain way. And I I wouldn't say that well, I can't say I'm typecast because I cast myself. But if you go to my other website with all the entertainment stuff, you'll see me across the board, all these different characters. And people always ask me, who's your favorite character to play? And get this, I have two top characters. One is the Wicked Witch of the West, and the other one is Charlie Chaplin. So think about how different they are. Charlie Chaplin is mute. He doesn't say one word, but he can say everything with his face and his mustache and his body language. And the Wicked Witch says whatever she wants. And she doesn't get in trouble for it, ever. She's invincible. And so the cackle and the laugh and just, it's so much fun. And it's high energy. It is exhausting. I'm in a half squat the whole time. So 2-3 days after I perform as her, I'm sore. It's a workout. And then Charlie, I don't have to use my words. I just use my great ability to psychoanalyze humanity, and I communicate that with them through my eyebrows and, you know, lots of flirtatious moves. And yeah, so it's interesting to reflect on my process of like, okay, I still love to do certain characters, definitely in my element. And I also, I want to get to the heart of life, and laughter is part of it, right? Joy is part of it. But in order to work with these clients in this setting, I need to just be a sounding board, right? I don't need to be a character for the most part in like my one-on-ones. I can develop character stuff and do videos and fun stuff. That's great and effective in certain ways. But one of the things I wanted to bring up about my process again, because you mentioned food, Brian, is on my website, I'm a certified personal trainer, but I have chosen to call myself a food first personal trainer. And that's just giving everyone a fair warning. If you're going to work with me, you got to acknowledge the food, because you cannot go to the gym or hike 10 miles or run a marathon. As we know, marathons won't save your heart if you're carb loading. You got to be willing and to at least consider making some changes with the food from the beginning, because the evidence is there, right? But I also kind of have a love-hate relationship with studies and research, and evidence shows, because how much of that evidence and research is BS? It's very poor quality science, and it shouldn't even be called quality. It should be a scam. It should be literally called a scam. So I don't come at my clients with, well, here's this study and here, and go over here and watch this and read that. If they're that type of person, I will. But for the most part, I tell them to do one thing. Don't believe anything I say, get a CGM. That's it. And I just got a great partnership with Lingo, and I'm going to be offering 10% off with our code. And I got to help some folks at my class on, it was yesterday, Wednesday, at the library, understand what a CGM is, a continuous glucose monitor, because they had never heard of it. And they were concerned about their blood sugar and they didn't want to prick their finger. So I gave them the code. I explained how it basically does the work for you. You don't have to keep a note and pad of like all the macros and blah, blah. An hour later, you'll know. I ate blank and my blood sugar is sky high. Or I ate blank and wow, I'm steady. You know? So CGMs is a huge tool that I talk about a lot. And again, I don't try and push. There's evidence that if you eat this, that. I just offer a free CGM for the first 2 weeks, and then give them the 10% off code after that, and they can choose. And the more you buy, the more discount you get with Lingo, which is pretty cool. And it's totally 100% over the counter. And so that's one of my favorite things that is accessible and empowering for people. Actually, one of my neighbors, when I started a metabolic meetup here in my new neighborhood, I moved here last summer. I invited all my neighbors to come to the clubhouse for a metabolic health meetup. Bring your questions, bring your stories, whatever. And it was very informal. And one of my neighbors couldn't make it. And he's like, can you send me notes or whatever from the meetup? I said, sure. And so I sent him my presentation. And unbeknownst to me, he decided to go get some Dexcom CGMs and didn't tell me. And 90 days later, I run into him. Oh, I didn't, it wasn't 90 days. I ran into him like halfway through and then at 90 days. And he's like, hey, so I got this CGM and man, it's crazy. I'm like, what do you mean? What's the craziest thing that like was surprising to you about the food? He goes, cornflakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't eat cornflakes. And I'm like, okay, what else? He's like, bread. I'm like, okay. And he wasn't like depressed about it. He's just like, dude, that was crazy. Yeah, I just can't eat that. And he's the type of personality where he sees the screen, it's telling him what's happening, and he listens because it's fact. It's not opinion. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, throw out those cornflakes, throw out that bread.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
salmon?
those are huge point because I've heard people argue against CGMs all the time. I'm like, you know what? A good friend of mine is Italian. He's like, Doc, look, I've talked to him about low carb keto. You're pre-diabetic or diabetic, full-blown diabetic. And I go, look, man, your life's gonna be shortened. You want to be with your grandkids. Here's the deal. I love you, and this is why I'm saying this. And he goes, yeah, I'll just live less. I'm okay with that. I love cannolis. I love my pasta. I love certain things in life, and life's not worth living without those things. I'm like, okay. And I go, here, put this on for 2 weeks. And this guy got it. And then he got another one. And anyways, his A1C's normalized, his weights come down. Everything's better because he goes, I couldn't take it, doc. I said, I thought you weren't going to change. He said, I couldn't take it. I would see my sugar go to 350. Like I can't. Then I know it from what you told me that means. And he's like, couldn't take it. He said, I'm having salmon or I'm having fish, and I see or steak, and I see what happens. And I think, wow, I don't want those things anymore. He goes, it's not attractive to me anymore because I don't want that. I know what I saw my mom go through, and I don't want to go through that. And so when you educate someone, it's like my opinion anymore. It's like when you see it, like my sugars, because we all think I could smoke and I'm not going to be the one who gets lung cancer. I can do these things and it doesn't affect me. But when you see it, you go, ooh, I know what that means long term. I don't want those consequences. Tro, do you see that too with your CGM when people have that?
It is one of the most important tools, I think, for behavior change, right? One, to rip out of the subconscious, right? We have so much in the subconscious when it comes to eating. We just don't think about it. Like we don't track what we pee and what we drink, right? We don't track the air we breathe in and the air we breathe out. So asking us to track food is really difficult. So a lot of times we don't remember. Like it's a great way to rip out your behavior out of the subconscious. And it's also a great way to get accountability. And Brian, from those trials where if you're observed, you're going to act differently, right, than if you're unobserved. So all these factors, and it's great for awareness. Like, wait a second, like just like when you were aware that smoking cigarettes would impact your lungs, right? If you're aware these blood sugar fluctuations are attacking your organs, right? Your blood vessels, when you see it go up to 200, you're really like, is it worth it? And here's the thing, the only person who could answer that is you. Like there may be that one thing a year that's worth it, right?
Yeah.
We have a life to live and we make those decisions. But I think most people are like, that's not worth it. Like it doesn't taste that good, right? Like so I think it's a great way to give more power to the person, right? It's
And
just an
for the
amazing
person who says
tool.
I eat healthy, and you go, okay, let's see what your sugars do. And there's when I have sushi, like I thought you were gonna say sushi because all the time people come and go, oh my gosh, I had sushi, my sugar went to like way up high, or different things like that. Like I had my oatmeal with a banana and some honey on it, and my sugar. crazy high. So when you see that, you go, oh, those 4 French fries I had, my sugar went crazy. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like you have accountability to go, do I care about that or not? And you're right, Tro. Some people do it because they don't want me to see it because they go, I was gonna have a cookie, and they go, Brian's gonna see it if I have that. Or other people don't care what I think. They're saying, I hate to see it's a competition now. They go, I want to see how even I can get that. So whatever works for you, but it's a powerful tool for those reasons. You can kind of see the immediate effects right now of what happens. Then you go, yeah, I think I'll change what I'm doing.
Yeah, and my neighbor who had such great success is having great success. Shared also at the 90-day mark, right before he got his A1C test, that all these other things changed that he had no expectation for. So you can't say it's the placebo effect.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody told him that he was going to drop 30 pounds without even trying. Nobody told him that his knee pain of the last 30 years was going to go away in 90 days. His hip pain went away. His vision improved. His skin improved. He's, I don't know, early 60s or something, and he was saying his skin was really crepey, like crepe paper. And he said it like suddenly looks moisturized, and he wasn't moisturizing at all. And his A1C, so I saw him a few days later right after his doctor appointment, and he goes, "Do you know that my A1C 90 days ago was 8.4?" I was like, "No, I didn't know that." He goes, "Guess what it is now?" I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, 5.8. 5.8. And he's like, "I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going." Because he's
Yeah.
received so many benefits from just awareness, right? He's empowered. He is in control of his life now. And he was on metformin and wasn't doing shit. And the doctor wants to keep him on it because the doctor thinks it's suddenly working. Please.
Mm-hmm. It's wild. I mean, these things, and like you talked about weight earlier. I have a guy in my practice. I just saw him. He's a fantastic person. And he was 320 pounds when he came to me. 6 weeks later, he went from 320 to 316. He lost 4 pounds in 6 weeks, right? Like we would look at that and go, screw it, I'm done. In that same time, his sugars went from 260, 280 to 90 to 100. Came off all of his meds, came off his blood pressure meds. And it turns out he was putting on he lost 11 inches off his waist with 4 pounds of weight loss. It's ridiculous. And it was that he was putting on muscle mass as he lost visceral fat. When we did we have a Sika, it's like a DEXA scan. And you go, wow. Because other people are looking, I only lost 4 pounds, screw it, I'm not doing this anymore. But you could look at his continuous glucose monitor, you could look at his insulin drop by like 80%. Everything got better. And he's like, wow, this is amazing. Because I was apologized. I go, man, I can't believe you only lost 4 pounds. Like you had a lot of weight to lose and you only lost 4. He goes, but I feel great. My mental focus, my energy, everything's better. So some people are just focused on that 4 pounds and they forget all the other benefits that they got. Like you're saying, the skin got better, the knee doesn't hurt. I mean, all these things. And when Tro and I first talked about this, I'm like, Tro, this is crazy what we're seeing. You know that, right? Like mood getting better, anxiety getting better, not fighting with people so much. And Tro was there, but right before I gave a talk on the low carb cruise, I don't get stressed when I talk. Usually I get excited. And I got a call like 3 minutes before I'm about to speak. They go, "Hey, your mom's gonna go in hospice," and it was a lot of everyone's texting me at the same time. I go, "There's nothing I can do about it. I'm on a cruise in the middle of Alaska, and I got to give this talk for the next hour. I can't just go, okay, guys, I'll be back, and you guys talk among yourselves." My sugar went from 68 to 168 fasted in like minutes. When I went back and looked at it, because I go, man, I felt I couldn't even hardly breathe. I was so stressed, right? And that I don't experience that ever. And then you go, you have a panic attack, look at your sugars. You get pissed off at the world. So that's why I go, Tro, I don't fight with people on Twitter. I just go, you know what? I'm not going to raise my sugars for you, dude. If I want to raise my sugars, I'll go have something I want to eat. Not because you pissed me off. So yeah, I mean, think all these things are, and not sleeping well, all these things play a role in what we're trying to accomplish. And so that's why what you're doing is so important, looking at behavior change. Behavior change is key. Because so many people say, well, I have no willpower. I go, you just told me that you fasted for 72 hours. Like if you have no willpower, you're not going to fast for 72 hours. right? That ain't gonna happen. And you're not gonna say I gave up alcohol and I start. You have willpower. It's just like when you're super stressed, you want to be comforted right now, and it could be going to get a massage, or it could be eating your cookies that make you feel good, right now, because that's an instant gratification, not saying, hey, I want to have cookies now, but I'm not going to do it. Let me go for a walk. Let me call my friend. Let me do whatever I can not to have to eat cookies to calm my nerves.
Yeah. Yeah, those plans, right? When shit hits the fan, what are you going to do? You got to have a list. You got to have either people to call or things to do, things again, not to do. We don't want to focus on the negative. We don't want to focus on what we shouldn't do, because that's already a narrative that's loud and proud, right? We're trying to reorient ourselves in our focus. And so having that list, like you said, having resources, and something else, what did you say? Made me think of, what was it? It made me think of A1C again, about the stress and blood sugar and sleep and all that stuff. I wanted to bring up something personal because I guess there's been some stress in my life over the last 2.5 years, but I would kind of reflect every 3 to 6 months when I'd go get my A1C tested. And I'm like, well, sure, I had some stress, but I've been more stressed in other times of my life. So why is my A1C creeping up? And my dad, of course, my dad, he's like, you eat more carbs than me. That's why. I'm like, thanks, Dad. What do I eat? He's like, you eat beans. I'm like, what kind of beans? Refried beans. I'm like, no, actually, I don't. But thanks for the weird observation, because I literally don't eat refried beans. They destroy my stomach. But it was interesting that he had decided, maybe because I don't know.
That's what we do. I'm telling you, we all do that. You hear it so many times. Why is it? I'm looking like, why is this person do worse? It's carb creep. They're eating more carbs than they think. It's like, they're like, I'm not eating more carbs than I think.
No,
Are you drinking? Are you stressed? So that's when I started looking at the gut microbiome, because guess what? I find a lot of times the gut microbiome, the guys who are supposed to digest the sugar, they're gone. Now what? You absorb it all, and you're just leaking across. And so there's so many things like that. You go, oh, these kind of things are kind of important. Like, because we know all diabetics, not most diabetics, are going to have very low acrobensia, that lower sugar. It digests the sugar and you poop it out rather than shooting into your bloodstream. So there's things like that we're learning, and we go, okay, how much of an effect? Maybe it is negligible, maybe there's something to it, but it's always that, like, you're doing something wrong, and that's as doctors, we're famous for that. You have to be doing something wrong. I just put you on insulin and you gained 20 pounds. Yeah, because insulin makes you gain weight. Troy, I know you probably got patients to take care of, huh?
Oh, one of the things I was going to say is, we're always quick to blame the patient, but there's so many things like, I saw a patient who I'm convinced had, fatty liver despite no alcohol, no carbohydrates, serious improvement. And I just suspected, well, what if there's something in the gut that's making like alcohol or making, something, and we, the thing that threw me out this, the patient ended up having a colonoscopy, right? Changed nothing else, had a colonoscopy, fasted for 3 days, took magnesium, flushed the gut out. Everything was gone. The next time he did the the ultrasound and the fiber scan, the fatty liver was gone. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe he wiped out his microbiome, right? And then it reconstituted, right? So we're so quick to blame somebody. Well, oh, your blood sugars are up. Maybe it's, no, sometimes it's just like an infection. Look at you here. You were stressed out. That stress was so, I hate I think the doctors and the health coaches of the world, we need to do what all of us are talking about here, which is dig deeper and be help. right? Dig deeper and be of service.
And if it doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense. Here are the possibilities, right? You're drinking, you're eating too many carbs, right? You're stressed out, not sleeping, or there's something else going on. So let's look and see. Let's rule out there's something else, and guess what? There's something else pops its head up. And so that's why it's crazy, because we all know that's what's amazing. Our body has such an inherent ability to heal itself. Just get the hell out of the way. Get out of the sun and you won't be sunburned anymore. Get in the shade if you have to, whatever. So like we do the same stupid things all the time. And we go, I'm doing keto. Yeah, but you're drinking vodka every night. Well, there's no carbs in that. Well, why don't you try and take that out of the system and see what happens? Because it's going to cause fatty liver disease. It's going to cause all the stuff we're trying to fix. So, and it does have a negative effect on the gut microbiome. Do we enjoy it? Yes, we do. So you go, okay, I'm willing to pay some penalty for things, but what can I fix? Or you say, this is my life and I'm okay with it. We have choices, right? So once we have the responsibility, go, maybe that's the problem. But what the point is, when your body wants it, so I go, okay, what happens when you're fasting? You make beta hydroxybutyrate. What does that do? Feeds the gut microbiome. Why would you feed the gut microbiome when you're starving? Doesn't make sense unless it's important. Your body's saying this is important. Don't screw up the gut lining, because if you screw up the gut lining and you want to absorb nutrients, you're gonna have trouble. So we get fat, so we don't get diabetes, because if we like we're storing that energy somewhere, because if we don't store it there, it's going to be diabetes, right? So like all these things, you go, that's why it makes sense. Like why is our body, it's not trying to kill us, it's trying to help us out. So it's amazing, see, if you get people more active, enjoying life and being entertained at the same time. Because I'm telling you, there was a study they did with mice, and the mice had to run like the treadmill. One of them, the mice, the mouse would control the treadmill, and if this one decided to run, then this one had to run. And the one who decided to run, that wanted to do these things, had way better effects than the one who was like, oh man, I don't want to run, but this guy's making me. I have to do it. And so many of us go to the gym or we go to do our activity, but none of us, if we're doing something we love, go, oh man, I got to go ride bikes with my best friend this weekend. You look forward to that. It's not saying, well, I'm going to burn so many calories, that's why I'm doing. No, you're doing it because you enjoy it. It's fun to go hiking and look at birds or go see a new thing or whatever and be out in nature. All these things calm our system down from being on social media and all the hectic stuff we deal with all the time.
Right. Yeah. And just to kind of close out my little story about my A1C that was creeping up for a year and a half, 2 years. For the last 5 months, guess what I changed about my diet? I added fat. It's N equals 1. That's all I can say is I added an intentional large, for me, amount of fat. And that's basically butter, and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times a day, anytime I opened the fridge and I was like, not hungry, but, oh, I should eat some butter, see what happens. 5 months of that, A1C back down to 5.5.
Interesting. See, that's interesting, because what's funny when I start looking, because I've been having this little discussion with Tro, planting seeds in his little brain over there. But butter has butyrate. Our diet does not have much butyrate in it. Like there's very few, like there's only like a couple things in our diet that has butyrate. Acetate you get from apple cider vinegars. There's people who say, oh, I just drank apple cider vinegar and everything got better. These are short chain fatty acids that our body can't produce. So guess who produces our gut microbiome makes it? So I'm like, if you starve those guys and you have no short chain fatty acid, you're hungry all the time, mood gets affected, all these things happen. You go, if you give them a teaspoon of inulin here and there, that's what feeds the microbiome that makes those guys. You go, maybe that would be a good idea for satiety, for being a nicer person, and all these things. You go, I'm willing to do that. There's no cost to me to do that, except it costs $20 on Amazon or something. So when you start looking, you go, maybe that instead of eating butter all the time, maybe I just do that. Right. But butter had the effect for you. So maybe it's the short chain fatty acids that you were missing that your body doesn't really make. And if you're not eating butter, then maybe, vegetable oils aren't going to do it. It's going to make it worse. So yeah, that's an interesting observation that you made. That's because that would help thicken the mucus layer and help decrease some of your insulin resistance. It makes sense.
So I don't want to go too far, too deep, but what was interesting is I'm going to ask you guys to look at my labs later. Because I don't have a doctor and I'm uninsured right now. But the A1C dropped to 5.5 for the first time in 2 years. Normally I don't eat dairy. maybe a little bit of goat cheese, but usually it's coconut oil, avocados, tallow. I make my own tallow. So I'm going to switch and go to tallow for the next 3 months and see if anything happens. But my insulin went up. So when I had my last insulin check, it was 4. And when I just got my new test results with the lowered A1C, my insulin was 7.4. And I posted on the Nutrition Network community, forum, and I was like, what do you guys think about this? And one person, I don't remember if they were a doctor, they said, well, since your insulin is a little bit higher, still totally in the safe range, but if it's higher, it's probably just doing its job better because it's managing the glucose. And I'm like, but I'm not eating more glucose. I'm eating less and I'm eating more fat, which is why the only reason I can think is why my A1C went down. So anyway, I wanted to share that because I was eating a pretty good amount of protein, struggling to eat enough protein, right, with my strength training plan. And I was getting frustrated, like we were all talking about, like, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And I added fat only because of my knowledge of keto and ketosis. And granted, I shall also share that I almost never went into ketosis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not super worried or concerned about being in ketosis. Other things are more important at this point, but I got the keto mojo. I was testing all the time. The only time I got into slight ketosis was after like an 18-hour fast and a 36-hour fast. But yeah, so it's nuance, right? Everything's nuanced and our bodies.
It's nuanced, yeah, and you look at the overall trend because you can make a lot of arguments on that. If you have less leaky gut or gut inflammation, or you went into some form of ketosis, a lot of people who do low carb keto for a long time, their ketones don't show like they used to. Mine don't at all. So I have to fast for like 72 hours to see a good ketone production. So I don't know if you see the same, Tro, if you check it, but so anyways, if your insulin, sometimes your body just can't make enough insulin because it's got inflammation in the pancreas and your beta cells aren't working. So sometimes the insulin going up is not a bad thing. There's a famous curve by Ben Bickman, and it shows that your insulin goes higher and higher and higher, trying to get rid of bring the sugars down. So I'm more concerned when I see a really high sugar A1C of 9 and an insulin of 2 or 4. You go, oof, this is not good. This is not good, because your body has lost the ability to make that insulin, because otherwise it would be high. It's like the thermostat. If it's too cold, the heater should kick on. Why is not the heater coming on? So Tro, do you see this too? Or if you have a bad night's sleep, I see insulin is very fickle too. If you had a stressful night or a bad night's sleep or had a couple of drinks the day before, all those kind of things can affect insulin very quickly.
Yeah, thinking about food. If I just think about the bantam bagels my wife made, like with almond flour, my insulin's going to go up, right? So if you had a dream about food, your insulin's going to go up. You release insulin just thinking about food when you're salivating, right? So like you could sneeze and insulin goes up. So, until we get a continuous insulin monitor, I think you have to just
Not
pay
going to
attention to
happen.
the trend and the home IR trend.
I wish we could do that, man. I wish it's technically very challenging. So it would be a super awesome tool to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if meditation lowered it.
And I can say, Tro, you're raising my insulin right now, man. You
I
can't talk
know,
about
I
this
know. My
anymore.
insulin's
Getting me
up right
upset.
now too. We got patients to go see. This was
I
such a great
know.
conversation, Amelia. Brian, it's always such a
Yeah,
pleasure.
awesome.
Well, Amelia, you got to part us way.
You gotta tell us how
How
do
people
people track you down? How do they find you? How do they
bingo.
get your services? And if they want to have you be Freddie Mercury, how do we do that?
Gotcha. Well, first of all, my website, primitivepulsefitness.com. My podcast is really fun. We have video shorts and long interviews like this that are with everyday Joes and doctors and endocrinologists. The Magic of Metabolic Health on YouTube is the only place you can watch or listen to it at this point. If you want to email me, it's pretty simple, primitivepulsefitness@gmail.com. And I'm also on Instagram, Primitive Pulse Fitness.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, and we got to do this again.
Thanks, guys. Good to
I
see you.
kept thinking you should do a Boy George for some reason. Your hair was hanging just perfectly as they reminded me of Boy George. I'm like, that would be a good one too.
I'll
Culture
see
Club.
if I can find the photo.
You might be too young to know who that is.
Oh no, I've done Boy George. Yeah, just ask. I've probably been that person.
Also, I can't wait to go check out your stuff that's so creative and cool. So that's fun.
I guess.
Tro, are you going to start doing some impersonations for us, man? That would be perfect.
I can do some Lane Norton impersonations. Protein bars are healthier than hamburgers
Oh,
and
I
pickles.
just saw that right before
You
we came
know,
on, and he's responding again, Tro. You guys
there's
are
nothing
too.
wrong with
You guys are raising each
Monster
other's
Energy.
insulin and sugars and
Taking
everything.
free product from Monster Energy is not sponsorship. And let
See,
me
you
see if I can
learn.
do more. I have no conflicts. I just sell a whole lot of supplements. So yeah.
Well, if you want to get on the impersonation game, I highly recommend going to my website, thegreatsurprisal.com.
Well,
That's my
I could do
entertainment.
Fauci if you guys want. If you
Can you
want,
do
I
it
could do
right now?
Fauci.
Do it right
Yeah,
now.
I could do Fauci. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Wear a cloth mask and
It just makes
COVID
sense.
vaccines,
It just makes sense. Wear two masks. We're fine.
prevent transmission, right? So, and I don't know what you're talking about, gain of function. What's that?
Natural immunity? I haven't thought about that.
Natural immunity is a conspiracy. It's a right-wing conspiracy. So is exercise. So, all right. There's
We're
my
getting-
impersonations.
Good
Cancel
work.
the internet.
We just got canceled. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our last episode. It was fun.
Yeah.
No, your other people almost got us canceled, Tro. The two ladies that were so sweet.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
talked about everything. We're like, uh-oh.
Was it vaccine stuff?
They were on everything. Yeah, that was part of it. They were on everything. We're just like, oh, this is great.
But
They're sweet as can be.
You're still here.
We're still here. We made it through.
You're good. You made it.
We're good.
All right, guys.
All right,
Thanks
guys.
again.
Have a
All
good
right.
day.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Bye.
If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon by going to lowcarbmd.com.